This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 1132 of Horse Tip Daily, your almost everyday morsel of helpful hints, useful facts, and practical techniques for horse folks, brought to you today by EquestrianCollections.com. Greetings, horse people. Coach Jen here, and thanks for tuning in to Horse Tip Daily. For today's tip, Justin from Total Saddle Fit joins Dressage Radio Show co-hosts Reese Kofler-Stanfield and Philip Parks to answer two questions about the saddle twist, which is sort of the width of the saddle from the rider's perspective. And we'll get right to our tip after this from EquestrianCollections.com.
Hi, Glenn here, and I am with Debbie from Equestrian Collections with this week's Product of the Week.
Hi, Glenn. This week I'm featuring one product, but two types of the same product, the WeatherBeeta Elite Saddle Pad. It comes in both all-purpose and dressage style. The thing that makes this unique is it has a sticky piece that's on the outside of the pad. The outside of the pad is a suede type of material. The inside, of course, is the wicking lining, so your horse is cool and all that. But the outside has this grippy silicone patch logo that actually it's sticky for your saddle, not for your horse. So it tends to not slip. So if you have a saddle, particularly like one of these treeless, and if you can use this and it'll help stick to it. Because sometimes with some of those saddles you can't use the binding thing. So this will help keep your saddle in place. It also has another way cool feature, which is the girth patch. Instead of being the same material, it's a PVC covered patch there. So it not only is more durable, but then it would keep your pad from getting stained. Because sometimes that happens with girths. So I thought that was a pretty unique feature as well. So that's why I wanted to feature that this week. It does come in the all-purpose type and also the dressage type. So check it out. It's by WeatherBeeta, well-known, well-beloved brand, WeatherBeeta Elite Saddle Pad.
And in a lot of colors.
Yeah, that's true. That's another thing. It comes in blue, light blue, dark blue, pink, purple, and white, and all that. So, yeah, take a look at it. I think you'll like it.
And the price is right at EquestrianCollections.com. Just search for WeatherBeeta Elite, and you'll find it there at EquestrianCollections.com. This product highlight was produced by the Horse Radio Network. Listen to all of our shows at HorseRadioNetwork.com.
Well, tonight we have a special treat. We have Justin himself from Total Saddle Fit on to answer our listener questions. Justin, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing awesome. How are you guys?
Great. Well, you are in such demand with our listeners, and you're like an old pro at this now.
That's very kind of you to say.
You might get your own radio show soon. Just all about saddle fitting.
I think the amount of questions we get, he could do it. So, Justin, we wanted to jump right in. Philip's got your first listener question. We're going to be busy tonight. Philip, take it away.
All right, this one's from Nan. I've been reading a lot about saddle twists recently and how it affects the rider. Does the twist affect the fit of the horse? Thanks, and keep up the great work, Justin. So we're talking about saddle twists here.
Certainly. So the short answer for that is no. On any decent saddle, the twist shouldn't really affect the fit to the horse. That's really going to be built for the rider. Now, the thing I just think is worth mentioning is a couple little points to kind of keep an eye out on. And I've seen this a little bit, but it's not like a huge problem out there, but good to keep an eye on for your own saddle, which is the first thing. When you have a narrow twist saddle, underneath that twist is the tree of the saddle, which is what your horse actually does feel. And every once in a while, you'll have what are called the tree bars. They're kind of the two longitudinal front to back bars that attach the front of the saddle to the back of the saddle, and those run underneath the twist. Every once in a while, those tree bars can tuck in too narrow, close to a horse's spine, and can give them a little bit of trouble. Like it can either put too much pressure over the spine trapezius area, or it can even even hit the spine, depending on the build of the horse. And like I said, it's kind of uncommon, so you probably won't run into this, but if you think there might be a problem in that area, or if you think your saddle might be fitting funny, when you have your saddle all girthed up tight, take a look down from the front and the back, down the gullet of the saddle, down the channel, so you can see if there's any weird contact spots or any kind of like really close areas between the horse's spine and the saddle. So that'd be the first thing. And then the second thing that I would really encourage people to look out for, much more so than the first one, is the stirrup bars. What you'll find every once in a while is, even though it's not in the twist per se, the stirrup bars can angle inward, and the ends of the stirrup bars can kind of point inward toward the horse's body, and sometimes those can create pressure points. So it's done in some degree to make the stirrups less noticeable for a rider, but if the stirrup bars point in too much, it can impinge on the horse a little bit there. But again, these aren't huge issues that happen all the time, just a couple little things to look out for.
That's a really good tip, Justin. But I also have a question about just the saddle twist for a rider, because I know I need a narrow twist. I know that I need a super narrow twist, which if you look at my conformation, I'm actually a little bit wide in the hips and a little bit wide in the thigh. I mean, I like to say I'm supermodel, but that's just the reality. And I think people look at me and think, oh no, she's not going to want a narrow twist. But I will tell you that I mean, if I'm in a wide saddle, it's very, very painful for me. So can you talk a little bit about like how people can figure out what type of twist they need, if that makes sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And, the twist is one of those interesting things that I think a lot of factors come into it that you can't exactly measure for per se in terms of figuring out what a rider is going to want. So in theory, if someone has a narrow pelvis, a narrow twist would be better because they're overall narrower, so they would be more comfortable with, like less interference between their legs. But I've found that those preferences vary across the board. Kind of like what you were saying. If someone can be built with a wide pelvis but still want a narrow twist, I've come across people that are rail skinny, very, very petite little people that prefer wider twists. So that, I don't know that there's really a steadfast rule other than sitting in a handful of different styles of seats and figuring out what you like. I think there's a lot of, past that comes into it, maybe what you used to ride when you were growing up, what you learned in, something like that. But I think that's really more just personal feel than anything else.
I've always wanted to know that. Yeah, I've always wanted to know that because it's true. And I think you're right. Just sit in a lot of different saddles, because once you sort of figure out what you like, it's very clear. For me, it's painful to sit in a wide saddle. I can't do it. I mean, I'll come right off. I can't. It really, really hurts. So yeah. Well, thank you. That was my own question.
Well, there you have it. You can find links to today's guests at horsetipdaily.com. Have all of your favorite Horse Radio Network shows with you wherever you go by downloading the free Horse Radio Network app for iPhone or Android. Just go to your app store and search Horse Radio Network. You can also subscribe via iTunes. This podcast was made possible through the generous support of EquestrianCollections.com and listeners like you. Learn how you can support Horse Radio Network programming and qualify for auditors-only perks by going to horsetipdaily.com and clicking on the Become an Auditor banner in the center of the page. I'll be back again soon with another tip, and until then, go ride your horse. The Horse Radio Network and the Horse Radio Network hosts are not responsible for statements of guests or their opinions. Use your own judgment when listening to the tips provided by the experts on Horse Tip Daily.